Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And now I'm at the very far end of Hokkaido. I'm at the Akkeshi Distillery, a rather new distillery, founded by a man who worked in the raw food trading business, and he was a very big whiskey enthusiast, and he liked Islay whiskey, but he didn't find enough Islay whiskey and the style of Islay whiskey he wanted to have. So he thought, hey, I can do a distillery. I can make my own whiskey. So in 2010, he got the plan to say, hey, I want to make a distillery. So he went around Japan and especially Hokkaido, and then he found the town of Akkeshi, and he wanted to set up a whiskey distilling business here. So they asked for the permission, and in 2013, they built a small warehouse, and they bought spirit from 2 other distilleries to mature in the warehouse and to find out if Akkeshi and the far region of Hokkaido is a good place for maturing whiskey. They matured the whiskey in the warehouse and found out, yeah, it is good. It's a cold season and the whiskey matures just like they want to. Then in 2014, they got all the permission, all the legal stuff. They got the land they can rent. And then in 2015, they began construction of the buildings, and they finished in 2016 with the buildings. And in November, in the winter, they started the first distilling of the first Akkeshi whiskey. And today, in 2017, we are here and we gotta find out how good the Akkeshi distilling business is up to now. I'm here at the milling room, and you can see one of the big bags of malted barley. It's internationally sourced, and this is unpeated barley. The distillery follows a philosophy of having time windows where they produce unpeated and peated whiskey. So at the beginning of the year, they produce unpeated whiskey, and in the end, they produce peated whiskey. And after the year, they go into revision, they go into cleaning, maintenance, and they clean out all the peaty bits so they can have a fresh start with unpeated whiskey, so the unpeated whiskey is not spoiled. For the peated whiskey, they use 50 ppm, which is very unique for a Japanese whiskey, because this is a heavily peated whiskey, an Islay style whiskey, and usually the old Japanese people were not used to that kind of style of whiskey. We're gonna see in the future if that changes. Behind me in red is the malt mill. It's a roller malt mill where you can adjust the distances between the rolling pins, and then it grinds down the malt into a grist. And with every batch, the distillery has a quality control. They fill up this box with the grinded down malt. Then they close it, shake it, and find out how many husks, how many flour, and how much grist they get to get the right quality for their mash tun. The next step is, of course, the mash tun. Here, the grist is combined with water, and the starches and the sugars are washed out to give you a good juice that you can use for fermentation. The Akkeshi Distillery has a stainless steel mash tun with a copper lid, and it has a capacity of 5,000 liters. It's a semi-lauter tun, and they do 3 washings. And the third washing, the water of the third washing will be used in the next batch to increase the output of the sugar and the starches. After the mash tun, it's up to the fermentation, where the magic of alcohol producing happens. The Akkeshi Distillery has 6 fermentation tanks. They are all stainless steel, and they have a capacity of 5,000 liters. And what the distillery also takes great pride in is hygienity. I have to wear a hairnet and the suit to don't bring any foreign materials and any dirt in, so I don't endanger their process. Here we see also a hygienic process. They wash their stainless steel tanks very thoroughly and take great pride in cleaning out all the materials so they don't get any other bacteria or any other problems into the process. So after 4 days of fermentation, they have a yield of about 7 to 8% alcohol, and then it is off to the distillation. This was a Japanese ritual for praying for a safe day, for safe distilling, and for good distilling. So this is the Japanese religion. On the sides of me are the two stills. To the right we have the wash still with a capacity of 5,000 liters, 2 watch glasses, very pear shape. And when you say pear shape, you mean European pear shape or French pear shape. Because the Japanese pear, they're a bit different. They have a different shape. So what is very important is the shape of the stills is more straight. You have a line arm that is falling, so everything that is distilled, there is not much reflux going on. Everything that evaporates ends up in the condenser and ends up in the spirit. So I would say you get probably more of a straight character, more of a rough character. And if you imagine you have 50 ppm with this kind of still, we're looking at more of a stronger character. But we're gonna find out when the product is finished how the product is gonna end up. So yeah, and after that is off to the cask filling. So what is very special about the distillery is their analysis. They do a lot of analysis for such a small distillery. Usually when you're a small distillery, you do more a bit of a by hand style. Here they do a lot of analysis. What they do is they analyze the sugar content in their mash, how much sugar they get out of their grinded down malt. Then they analyze the pH content of the fermentation, if everything is all right there, and the alcohol content of the fermentation tanks, how much yield they get to produce the wash for the wash still. And also what they do is you see 6 tubes here and 6 small distillation columns. They distill all of their fermentation tanks to look if they get the right quality when they produce at the big still. This is my favorite part of every distillery. It's the warehouse, and you have a great smell of whiskey in here. The warehouse is pretty small. It's their first warehouse, but is already filled pretty much for only 3.5 months of distillation. What they take great pride in is the location, and what their location offers them is a special type of oak. It's called the Misonara oak. This is Misonara oak. They produce big butts out of it. And the Misonara oak has a very special and unique flavor compared to the French oak or the American white oak. But a bit of a problem with this Misonara oak is the tree is not that suitable for making barrels. So it's very difficult to actually produce the barrel and keep it airtight. So you gotta have to have leak hunters to find the leaks if the barrel might leak. So the rest of the warehouse is filled with French red wine casks. Then you have PX sherry casks, you have quarter casks. There are a few bourbon casks as well. So the variety is already quite good for the distillery, and they will do a bit of variation in the future. And what the future holds is that, because they told me this warehouse is now filled with only 3.5 months of production, so they gotta have to build more warehouses very soon. So how they're gonna do that, we're gonna find out in the interview. So I'm sitting here with Clint Ellsbury, and you're the brand ambassador, and you also work at the distillery. You've been in the whiskey business for 8 years now. So how is it to work for the Akkeshi Distillery?
Yes, it's quite a privilege, really. I mean, as I said before, I've been in the industry for quite some time. I actually started out in the industry in the sense I actually used to write about Japanese whiskey through my own blog and a few various magazines, and then from there I progressed and started to import whiskey and actually distribute whiskey in Japan. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've always had a passion for whiskey, but I've always had a passion specifically for Japanese whiskey. So going from writing about whiskey to importing and distributing whiskey, I thought, well, the next best thing is to actually produce it myself and make whiskey.
Nice.
Which is why I'm here today, which is quite lucky enough. So.
Nice. So the Akkeshi Distillery doesn't have any products on the market yet, right?
No, that's correct. I mean, we've only been distilling for the last 3.5, 4 months. We started distilling at the beginning of November in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So we've actually just started to build up our stock right now and plan to put out a single malt in 2020, which is the Olympic Games in Tokyo.
2020 is the first product coming out. Very good.
Well, when I say first product, that would be a single malt.
First single malt.
So.
Okay, so what are we having then today?
So today we've got 5 things to take a look at. Naturally, I want to let you have the opportunity to look at our new make here. So we've got 2 types of new make that has been produced at the Akkeshi Distillery. We've got a peated and a non-peated Akkeshi Distillery new make.
Mm-hmm.
We've got actually 2 samples here that has been taken from our test maturation warehouse here. Now what we actually did before we built the distillery is we built a mini test maturation warehouse, which is basically next door here.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of that was to gauge and to look at the effect of what the climate and the strain of Akkeshi would do with spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So since 2013, we've actually bought new make from 2 existing Japanese distilleries.
Mm-hmm.
We bought all the new make here. We wrapped them in various types of casks to gauge the maturation effect. And as you can see by the 2 darkly coloured whiskies here, just 3 years of maturation has proven very well.
Nice.
So the climate in Akkeshi, it varies, and it's quite similar to that of Scotland. It's quite similar to that in Ireland. The winters here in Akkeshi, it drops down to minus 15 degrees. In the summer, the maximum temperature is 25. So you've got a good variation of climates and degrees, which is obviously affects how the spirit matures.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the last one is actually our peated new make,
Mm-hmm.
which has been matured, is gaining its maturation in a sherry porter cask.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gives you an idea of how the spirit is progressing. So what we'll do is first we'll take a look at number 1 here, which is the top left-hand corner.
Akkeshi new make non-peated.
That's correct. And this here is actually from a malted barley called Concerto. It's actually being cut at 63.5%, which is our standard alcohol ABV before.
So this is the 2017 version?
So this particular one here, yes, this was 2017 version.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally this hasn't actually been in casks, so there's not a lot of aroma happening from a cask in the sense, but you can smell
I do smell it's a new spirit. it's a.
But although it's the new spirit, you can smell it's got some lovely fruity aromas in it.
Yeah, got a lot of fruity aromas, pear, some. I would say a bit of citric aroma as well.
It is actually quite citrusy, really, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the quality of the spirit is quite nice as well. For us, I mean, a lot of distilleries do it, but for us, we actually tend to run our stills quite long. We can roughly be in between 6 to 7 hours.
Just go on.
Some distilleries obviously run their stills for 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But when you run your stills a bit longer, especially when it comes up to the 6th hour or the 7th hour, you've got lovely, beautiful, clean spirit. There's no roughness about it. And I believe the longer you run your stills, the more aromatic you make it becomes.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So the 63.5, is that barrel strength for you?
That's our barrelling strength, yes. Really lovely.
Mm. Mm.
What do you think?
Very sweet, but this is non-peated.
It's non-peated, but it has a meaty bite to it in the background.
Meaty bite is it's a bit of a ham flavor, I would say. For me, I would have estimated a bit of peatiness in there. I don't know. It's just it's not a peatiness that's all around you,
No.
but it's maybe a remembrance of it. I can't define it.
See, because this is
I like it.
This is a new make that was produced this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually have a bit of influence from the peated new make that was produced in 2016. Although you clean your stills, although you clean your mash tuns, and
You do a lot of
you do a lot of cleaning after your production of peated malt.
Mm-hmm.
There still is a bit of residue. There still is some aspect of the peated malt that goes through back into the non-peated. So that's probably what you're tasting there at the end, maybe. So.
Mm-hmm. But I like it. I like it.
So number two there, which you've got in your hand, that's also concerto malt, but this is actually your peated malt.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to tell the difference straight off the nose. You've got your peated lovely aromas there. You love your aromas. And this is where your slow pan comes into it compared to your non-peated.
Oh, there's a lot of smoke in it. So this is the 50 ppm version.
So this is at 50 ppms. Right now we're comfortable with the ppms as is. Perhaps maybe in the future we may increase the ppms there to see the influence of how it's...
So concerning the malt, I've been through all of Japan. It's very hilly, very forest, and here you see fields, which is not usual for the rest of Japan, which is just hills and water and hills.
Yeah.
And so, is there a way of maybe getting a few of the fields into barley fields?
That's the idea. I mean, right now, obviously, we have to import our malted barley from overseas because that's the only option that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, there are other people out there that do their own malted, or the fields, they grow their own barley, and that's the thing that we plan to do in the future, is to have 100% Akkeshi whiskey, or all-star whiskey, in the sense that we do our own fields, we'll produce our own barley, we'll malt our own barley, all the way through to the progress of felling trees in Akkeshi and making cask out of them. So there's potential, yes, and definitely Hokkaido is the place to do that.
Nice.
As I said, it's
So you're going to be making 100% Hokkaido or 100% Akkeshi bottling then?
That's the plan, definitely. I mean, we even might go to the extent of trying to find out different yeast sources that we can find locally. So that's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I like this new make. You pack so much pear in that.
It's beautiful. It's lovely and fresh. It hasn't got your roughness about it. It's
It has a bit of a dry note in the end, but a bit of a mossy feeling in the mouth, but the taste is great.
Yeah, so it's quite nice. Lovely and punchy. It's quite long. And again, you can taste the quality of the new make because, again, we run our stills long. And I think it's very evident in the new make itself. So if you go from these two new make styles that have not had any sort of wood influence to your number 3 sample there that has had influence in wood, this here itself is also quite a young new make in the sense that this was actually also distilled this year in March. So it's only had quite a few weeks literally it's been sitting in the sherry porter cask. So there's not a lot of aroma there, there's no big influence from the cask itself, but again, mind you, it's only been sitting in the cask for 2 months.
Yeah, sure. Whiskey takes time, you can't force it. Yeah, you do get the new make.
And that's quite spicy, it's quite fainty. And I think from here what we've done is we've gone from one brand of, one style of malt to a different style of malt, and that actually accentuates and brings out the different characters in the comparison of the 3 new makes that we tried here. So,
Oh, okay. Still smells like new make. A bit of different aromas in there. The beginning is very soft, but the end is still new make.
the taste. Yeah, I think this is quite spicy.
Spicy, but also alcoholic. It still needs maturation. How's the legislation in Japan? Are you legally allowed to call this whiskey?
I believe in Japan you are legally allowed to call it whiskey, but we're a distillery in the sense that we want to not bring out a single malt whiskey that has not been matured any longer than 3 years. So
3 years.
I mean, we will bring out products that haven't been matured for 3 years, but in the sense we won't call them a single malt whisky. So
Okay.
what we plan to do is basically be legit in every product we bring out
Mhm.
and inform our fans, our customers, exactly what they're buying and what they're.
It's always important.
So,
It builds the trust
Oh, definitely,
in a
for
brand
sure.
if you don't make any shifty business.
no, definitely.
Okay.
So moving on to sample number 4 there. Sample number 4 again is taken from our test maturation warehouse yesterday. This particular spirit here has reached its 3-year limit, so we can actually call this a single malt whisky now. This whisky itself, the original new make was actually from a distillery in Hjögården. As you can see, the lovely, beautiful colours there. This particular whisky is from a lovely, beautiful sherry hogshead, which also gives it its colour. But you can just see by looking at the colour that the maturation in Akkeshi is proving to be positive. So
Oh,
actually quite lucky. This is one of my favourite whiskies from the
this is a bit
maturation
of
warehouse.
a nuttiness, a bit of a dried fruits.
But please remember, this is not obviously spirit that we produced. So
Still good though.
it's still good. But the point is to show you how well actually the climate and the terrain of Akkeshi does bring to new make spirit.
So, how many meters of snow do you get in winter?
To be honest, I'm not too sure about the snow, but this year, last year's winter was my first winter in Akkeshi, and it snowed quite heavily. Unfortunately, I can't give you the specs of the snow because it's a new place and we actually moved here in April last year. So
Okay. Talking about the warehouse. The warehouse I've seen is, I would say, maybe a third, half full, something like that. You only produced for 3.5 months. That's gonna stop very soon if you don't have any space.
That's right. So we began our full production at the start of November last year. So we did full 2 months production, November, December. We closed down for the winter season in Akkeshi. The winters here can drop down to -15 degrees. As you can imagine, in that sort of temperature, it's hard to distill, it's hard to keep your worts consistent and whatnot. So we closed down for January, February. We began to distill again mid-March this year. In that amount of time, we've actually already reached roughly 150 casks. So yes, if we keep going where we're going, we do need warehouses. What we plan to do is to build a warehouse, 1 close to the sea, 2 up in the mountains, just to get a bit of variation and to maybe sort of focus on terrain and that sort of stuff. So we're actually in the process of finding land right now. If we have a new warehouse coming up soon.
Nice.
So if you want to go into the last one, which is number 5 here, again that's from the test maturation warehouse, and again unfortunately it's not new make from our stills, but again you can just see the lovely colour, 3 years maturation. It just proves that the terrain and the climate here in Akkeshi proves to be a good location for maturing whisky. This here itself is a whisky that's actually been matured in a virgin oak barrel.
Creamy.
And this here was actually produced in Saitama prefecture. This is at 63%. So we're confident from the test maturation of these particular whiskies, we're confident that the area itself will provide a beautiful variation of climates, which will provide beautiful aromas and colours in our spirit itself. So.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I believe you will have a bright future if you just stick to what you're doing and if you fulfill your plans. I think it will be a bright future.
Yep, thank you very much.
Hopefully, is there any chance of going international? Or is first Japan, or how is that any playing
It
around?
all depends what products we're going to bring out initially, but to be honest, me being the brand manager and the ambassador of Akkeshi Distillery, I want to have our products pretty much basically available everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much point being specific and catering for only a certain particular marketing geography. I mean, I want everybody to have the opportunity to taste our whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, my first product that will come out, it may initially be just Japan,
Mm-hmm.
but then from there on it will be hopefully worldwide available. So
Yeah, hopefully.
that's the plan. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Much appreciate you coming. Much
As it was a great tour. So thank you very much for watching. If you found this video interesting, then please feel free to share this video with your friends who might also be interested in Japanese whiskey. And thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.